So before I begin, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge that we're standing on stolen land. This land belongs to the Lenape people. What does it take to act on what we know? I want to take us on a little journey today, and it might be uncomfortable at times. But bear with me, because this is my message. Hands up if you've ever felt uncomfortable talking about race. Wow. I used to be that way too. And I want to unpack this a little bit with you. But first, I'm going to tell you how I got here. So, after growing up in Australia, I came to this country as an industrial design graduate with a dream to become a world-famous industrial designer. I honed my skills for the next decade, collecting patents and awards, until I reached a point in my career where I asked myself, what meaningful contribution am I making to the world? A lot of us come to this question. The world really doesn't need another comfort gel grip toothbrush. And on a bad day, I felt like all I was doing was contributing to landfill. It was 2009, and in my attempt to find meaning, I picked up a book called Business as Unusual by the founder of Body Shop, Anita Roddick. She was a trailblazer in socially responsible business. She was like the Patagonia for soap and moisturizer. And she believed that business should be about public good and not personal greed. After reading the book, I really needed to know more. I wanted to know more about her, so I went to her website, and it was there that I saw an ad, Free the Angola 3, 36 years in solitary confinement. My jaw dropped. I clicked on it expecting to find a prison in Africa. Angola is in Louisiana. And the Angola 3 were 3 Black Panthers, 3 black men, who were charged and convicted of a crime that they didn't commit. I fell down the rabbit hole that day, a day that would actually change my life. I learned as much as I could about the case. I signed up for the newsletter. In my first newsletter, I read that one of the Angola 3, Herman Wallace, was having his 67th birthday, and to send him a birthday card. And so I did. And he returned my letter. Sorry, I didn't return the letter. He responded to it within 5 days of receiving it. And it was the beginning of a 5-year pen-pal relationship. Everything that I'd been told in the media and been conditioned with about maximum security prisoners wasn't true. Herman was the most spirited man I'd ever met. For someone living in a 6-by-9 foot cell, 23 hours a day, 7 days a week, for what would eventually be 42 years, the only word I can describe him with is love. And when you think about it, he was in a higher state of consciousness by default, as he sat in an almost empty cell, fighting to humanize himself from a system that was dehumanizing him every single day. Thanks, Tina. So now that I was connected to Herman, I began to peel back the layers of the criminal justice system. I picked up Michelle Alexander's brilliant book, The New Jim Crow. Please read it. And I watched civil rights documentaries, and I read books that Herman recommended. And it was in these pages that I started to learn more about systemic racism and white superiority and my role in that. And it broke my heart wide open. Nothing in my world looked the same anymore. Nothing. And I more about freedom and justice and inequality and love from a man in a 6 by 9 foot cell for the price of a 45-cent stamp than any Ivy League school could teach me. I didn't go to an Ivy League school. I learned that the majority of white people in this country are turning a blind eye to injustice and turning a blind eye to racial injustice, and have been for centuries. And we're not educating ourselves on how to be better and how to act on what we know. We know about racial disparity, and as Toni Morrison says, the function of freedom is to free someone else. Our discomfort, guilt, and shame for having the bigger slice of the pie this whole time, and this inaction is causing marginalized people to die and get shot in Walmarts and get shot by the police. But there is a way out of these feelings, and I believe that the future of humanity depends on people in this room, acting on these feelings. But I'm going to get to that in a minute. My racial awareness grew with every letter from Herman, and every book I read. I remember the way Herman would celebrate my learnings. And he'd say, "Girl, what are you going to do with this knowledge?" One day, I was so excited to tell him that I had discovered meditating, and it was the closest thing that I felt to freedom. He laughed so hard. He told me it was an escape. And then he educated me with one sentence. I only feel free when I'm at war. I only feel free when I'm at war. It took me a long time to figure out what it meant, until I realized that, yeah, we're all human, but some of us are living a very different experience in this country. One where they have to fight and go to war every day for their humanity. Because whiteness has denied them this since the 1600s, when a bunch of British lawmakers divided us from each other and dehumanized enslaved Africans. And this is very hard to see when you're the favored race. But you see, I don't know if you can see this very well, but here's the thing. When you deny somebody else's humanity, you deny humanity in yourself. And it will take all of us, every single person in this room, to fight, or in Herman's words, go to war for freedom. So what does it act to take on what we know? For everyone who raised your hand earlier, nobody alive is responsible for racist laws written almost 4 centuries ago. But as a white woman, I know I still benefit from them. We can't unlearn almost 4 centuries of racist conditioning overnight. But until we collectively break our hearts wide open, right this wrong by educating ourselves, listening to the Black community or other marginalized group that you're aligned with, and be in relationship with people who don't look like us, and acknowledge the harm that whiteness has caused for centuries, by getting involved in doing the work. And this is the most important point. And sharing our learnings and our education with our white family. Our silence is only going to create more division, more oppression, and more domestic terrorism, which means more hate crimes and more hate groups in America. But we can do something about it, and we must. You can't see this very well, but I got the idea to build a commitment curve from Doug Atkin from Airbnb. He built a commitment curve to community building. And this is my commitment curve to justice. I want to, if you can see it, I'm not sure. I'm going to send this via email, or maybe CreativeMornings will afterwards. But there are different phases to this commitment curve to justice. I'm still on the curve, somewhere. But these are 1,000,001 steps that I've taken on my justice journey. And I'd like you to take a moment to acknowledge where you might be on this curve. Are you in the discovery phase, Are you reading books about injustice or racial injustice, climate injustice? Are you watching documentaries? Are you attending events where experts are talking? Or are you in the awareness phase? Are you becoming aware of your privilege? Are you sharing justice campaigns to your networks? Or are you in the engagement phase? Are you taking a course on racial justice or learning about microaggressions? Just to name a few of the things that I list here. Or are you taking action? Are you protesting and marching? Are you volunteering for a social justice organization? There are creative types in this room. You all have a huge skill set, creative skill set, and social justice organizers need you. We need websites. We need graphic designers. We need your talent. And then finally, internalization. This is where you completely divest from white supremacy. I'm not there yet, but I learn every single day. This is misleading, this curve. It actually never ends. And this work never ends. It's hourly and it's daily. So my call to action is, if you want to help me on this journey, because it gets really lonely sometimes, and I know a lot of people in this room are already on this curve, I'd love us to get together. And if you want to join me on the curve, please email me here with subject committed, and I'll be in touch. In my experience, the real converter to get out of our discomfort around race and take action is relationships, like my relationship with Herman. We all lost our connection to each other due to a small group of British lawmakers almost 400 years ago. But we can acknowledge the harm that we've done as white people. And we can acknowledge that whiteness has caused trauma and pain and death. And if we're lucky, we can get back to each other. These relationships didn't come easy, and I'm not asking you to go up to the next black or marginalized person in this audience and ask them to break the struggle down for you. That is your work to do. And it's emotional labor for them. Just get on the curve. Read some books. It's hard work, and it's messy, and it's going to take time, but it's also filled with love, because love is justice. People who commit to anti-racism work and acting on what they know carry an unshakable and inspired hope for humanity. Fueled by hearts that are broken wide open. We understand that we are all connected and that we must love accordingly. And that we cannot believe in love without believing in justice. And as Dr. Cornel West says, justice is what love looks like in public. Thank you.